r/ask Reddit. What should we stop teaching young children? Just ignore them and they will stop. Sometimes that's the answer. Sometimes it's disastrous. The real answer is don't give the bully what they want. So what to do depends on what the bully is trying to get out of you. If the bully is trying to get a reaction, or make you visibly feel hurt so that they can feel like they have emotional power over you, then ignoring them can deny them that and could work. If they're trying to feel powerful by creating a situation where they're dominant and you're submissive, or where they get to toy with you with impunity, then being passive instead of fighting back would worsen it. In general, don't reward behavior you want less of, so that means understanding what the bully considers a reward. It works in the adult world, because it's actually possible to avoid someone who you have issues with. This option often isn't actually available to children, and if you try to ignore them, they'll just keep ratcheting up the intensity of their behavior until they find your breaking point. That the teacher will handle any bullies. An older kid is bullying me. Okay, who is it? A guy, about 2 years older than me, short, black hair, about this tall. Yes, but who is it? I just gave you a description of him. Yes, but I need to know his name. How am I supposed to know his name? He's older than me, so he's clearly not in any of my classes. Well, why don't you ask him? Because I'll already be on the ground by that point. Still hate that woman all these years later. Saying that, I've heard much worse stories than that one. I'm a thin guy, to the point where they called me all sorts of names for it as a kid. The school bully was 2 years older kid, who looked like a side-scrolling arcade fighter game first level boss. Bulky and short-tempered. He'd beat up us nerds, typically starting to push and call us names, and if we did anything, absolutely anything, he'd beat up the victim, blaming them for starting it. Eventually we collectively tried to get our class teacher to do something about it, but her idea was to just ignore him. He'll get bored and will go away if you don't interact with him. Another teacher told to tell him no. He wouldn't bully if you made it clear it wasn't a fun game to you. It really grinds my gears as an adult to think back how fucking utterly useless the teachers were. The bully was also in the principal's unofficial protection as he was going to be the next NHL star or something. Back then a lot of Swedish ice hockey players got into NHL, and the principal was probably dreaming of telling everyone how he had mentored a NHL star. Schools say tell a teacher if someone's bullying you, then turn around and say that they don't have the authority to punish anybody. Which is it? My 7th grade teacher always called me the shortest kid in the entire class big guy. Oh my ducking god, it pissed me off. The guy taught 10th grade the previous year and just ended up acting like one at some point. That children should always do what they're told. If they're uncomfortable, or scared, or truly believe what they're being asked to do is wrong, they should be taught it's okay to stick up for themselves. I completely agree, but I also think there's a point where that goes too far the other way, like children who don't listen and talk back to everybody. From my teaching experience, that often comes from kids who don't trust the adults in their lives, though. Not the kids who have trustworthy adults in their lives but are taught that they, too, are trustworthy. Children's therapist. You're right. Lying is about protecting ourselves. Liars are people who are punished for telling the truth. My take on this: that children should always think about what they have been told and whether they should do it. The key word here is thinking and accepting reasoning instead of authority. Don't take no for answer. Actually, this can have severe consequences down the road. I'm trying to teach my 4-year-old son that he sometimes won't get what he wants, and that he has to accept that. How do the parents who teach their kids not to take no for an answer ever get their kids to go to bed? By not taking no for an answer. No means no, and no is a complete sentence. This is what I teach my children. Someone should only have to say no once before you stop what you're doing. No one owes you an explanation to their no either. It's just no, the end. And of course vice versa. We should stop comparing them to other children, which is basically telling them they're not good enough. My mom often gets disappointed whenever I get a 90 or 80 in school. She's always telling me, why can't you be like the kid that I saw on Facebook that graduated from Harvard? This absolutely shot me down as a kid. Honestly, who cares if Trevor was better at soccer when I was the top of my 5th grade class? Coming from a traditionally strict Asian family, this ruined me as an adult. As a kid, I constantly strives to be better than others, but now, I am worn. I am tired, and at the end of the day, I could not give a shit if I'm driving a used van and the next person is driving a Mercedes. I only want to be happy, whatever that means for me personally. When they compare you to other kids, but when you compare yourself to other kids they say, but I don't care about them. I care about you. Why do you bring them up then? That asking questions is annoying or unacceptable. I don't know. Let's find out together is the most engaging possible answer you can give a curious child. Look, intellectually I'm with you 100%, and I sort of enjoy talking through who would win if Wolverine and Deadpool fight, but about an hour later of the same subject or some variant of it, I'm just saying. Good things happen to good people. Bad things happen to bad people. Life is fair. That ugly equals bad evil. I partially blame TV animation for this one though. Old, ugly, fat or serious looking people are almost always the villains. This often makes kids fear elderly people and make unfair connections between appearance and personality. And it's not just kids animation. I see this shit everywhere. The Lord of the Rings films scale almost perfectly the attractiveness of each character to the inherent goodness and importance of every character. You're totally right about attractiveness versus goodness in the films. But to be fair, at one point Frodo says that if Aragorn were an agent of Sauron, he would look fairer and feel fouler. Telling them not to cry. I got bullied a lot in elementary school, and instead of helping me, the teachers would scream at me for crying, which just made me cry even more and create a perpetual cycle of screaming and crying. And that ducked me up for life. Ugh, yeah, my dad would do that too, stop crying, while raising his hand for a strike, and they wonder why I never call. Where the duck is the logic in that. Stop bleeding. Stabs. I mean, you will stop bleeding eventually if they keep it up. Making little kids kiss for a cute picture. Along the same lines. Telling preschoolers that so and so is their boyfriend girlfriend. Can't they just enjoy the single life at least till they can spell their own name? I abhor this. I've had a few people project adult relationships onto my kid when she was 2 and her little 2-year-old boy acquaintances, and I lost my shit. I can't even articulate the damage that projecting socially romantic roles onto little girls does to them. And I have to watch as it happens to my niece. You should never hate anyone in your family. If a certain family member did you wrong, never repented, never apologized, never tried to make things right, would gladly duck you over again and has done so on multiple occasions, you should be free to detest him as much as you like. But no, because we are blood related, that somehow completely erases what he's done. 100% agree. Just because they are family, doesn't mean they aren't bad people and worth your time. Agree 1000%. Family is about how you're treated and valued, not an accident of blood. If they can't treat you with the same decency you'd expect from a stranger off the street, they don't get to be called family. That they have to hug kiss family members as a hello because it's polite. I fucking hated this as a kid. No, I don't want to kiss Uncle Bruce. He's disgusting and makes me very uncomfortable. But no, it's rude to say no. That if a boy hits a girl, or if a girl hits a boy, that means they like the other gender. Abuse should not be loved. If I see a guy I think is hot, should I throw a rock? Only if you put a post-it note saying you find him attractive on the rock, and make sure not to hit him. So in 4th grade this one boy kept harassing me and I harassed him in retaliation, and my teacher said, in front of the entire class, that it was because we liked each other. I was ducking livid. Stranger danger. We need to let them know that it's not just strangers that can hurt them. And there may be times when they need a stranger's help. They need to know that if we get separated at the zoo or mall that they can rely on strangers to help them find me. We discuss how to tell who works wherever we are. Lifeguards at the pool, employees at the mall, etc. Uniforms, name tags, and how to get help. Most people in the world are good. I don't want them terrified that every person there is some boogeyman. I tell my kids to find a mom with a stroller and ask for help. My reasoning is that the mom with a stroller is full of baby hormones still, or at least the traces of. Plus they already got their hands too full with kids' babies to try to steal mine. That genitals are rude and we shouldn't speak about them. They are private but they aren't rude. We need to teach children correct names for body parts including genitals. On average, a child discloses sexual abuse 5 times before action is taken. It's very easy to hear "he touched my flower" and not think too much into it. Also, getting children to be able to verbalize feeling uncomfortable and learning how they feel when they are uncomfortable can be beneficial in stopping grooming in its tracks. Groomers often start with lingering touches that can be easily explained away, but if the child can articulate how the touch made them feel, it can help adults to protect children. I worked in a child daycare center and a co-worker told on me to a supervisor for saying the word penis around some kids. Luckily, the supervisor agreed with me that penis is not a dirty word. We should stop teaching kids that cereal is part of a balanced breakfast. Right. I can enjoy my cereal anytime I damn well want it. Legit, the greatest adult realization I ever had was that I could have Cocoa Pops for tea and ducking enjoy it. Flattery will get you nowhere. In the real world, it usually helps get you places. So go ahead and let little kids learn that sucking up works. Ferengi rule of acquisition number 33. It never hurts to suck up to the boss. That and who you know. I got told that I'd get stuff by merit and my own actions. Nah, it's who I know that gets me places. To be ashamed when they're wrong. People should be thrilled to learn they're wrong because it's an opportunity to learn. Instead, we shame politicians who flip-flop on issues, even if they switch their opinions from something like man-woman marriage to a stance of gay rights support. Then we wonder why people straight up deny they're wrong even when you pile a mountain of evidence in front of their dumb faces. If you're bad, I'll have the doctor give you a shot. If you don't stop misbehaving, the cops will come arrest you. That adults are infallible. My wife and I freely admit to our kid if we've done something wrong or were mistaken, and try to teach him to behave the same. He's only 4, so it's hard because he is still learning even the concept of fallibility, but I'm pretty sure it's helping. Roald Dahl would have absolutely liked you. Roald Dahl grew up going through the old-fashioned British school system, and he had to encounter plenty of adults who openly insulted kids by constantly accusing them for being untrustworthy, inherently lazy, bad and pathetic, while building themselves up as above all that. He had various male teachers like this. It's one of the reasons why he wrote much of the adults except for Miss Honey, displaying the same behaviors attitudes all over Matilda. It wasn't because he wanted to make Matilda seem misunderstood for being so smart. Much of the negative adult attitudes were literally lifted from what teachers had said to him and his classmates when he was a boy. You could tell that he wanted more adults to be honest, and to treat kids like developing adults that could be taken seriously. Finish your plate encourages kids to eat past the point of full. On here, family eat in all you can eat style, so the rice and side dishes are on the middle of the table and you take it as you need it. On this case, finish your plate is still good cause it teach the kids to only take food as needed and not stuffing everything into their plates. Everyone has to go to college. I think a better approach is everyone needs training after high school for chosen career. For example, college, trade school, apprenticeship are all options. They are correct options for nurse, welder and plumber respectively. That their feelings don't matter. They do. They really do. Who the duck says this to kids? Well, it's implied sometimes. When whining, some children are told to get over it and it leaves some trauma. Depending on how one is raised, small things really resonate with them. Might be out of a moment of anger, but it happens. The world isn't a fair place. Unhealthy relationships with food. Noticing how our relationship with food is covertly communicated to our children. Labeling food as purely good or bad. Forcing children to eat something they don't want to. Sending the message that vegetables are gross and are only to be enjoyed through bribery. Obviously excluding the instances in which children just don't eat. Forcing children to ignore their own body telling them that they've had enough food by making them finish the too large platter of food that you gave them. That college is necessary for success. It's not required. It could be depending on what career they want. And I know not every school does this, but since I was little I was told that the more school you get, the more money you're worth. That crying is not manly. That they're at school to study, not make friends. Friendships are important at any stage of life and you will definitely benefit from having connections in adulthood. One of the reasons kids didn't like me at school. My parents always expected me to be the best, saying that studying is my only responsibility now. Today, nobody cares about my grades from 10 years ago. Forced apologies. Telling a child to say I'm sorry and move on is completely useless. An apology is empty without true remorse. Let's instead teach children to apologize when they are truly sorry. It has to be genuine. This reminds me of a book in my daughter's vast collection. It's showing a series of interactions between two kids. And on one page it says say sorry when you are. Every time. I can't help but think say sorry when an adult orders you to, because the vast majority of the time, when an adult orders you to say sorry, you're not actually the slightest bit sorry at all. That being in the military or having a blue-collar job isn't preferable to going to college. I'm enlisted in the USAF and I love it. Plus garbage collectors make serious money. Yeah, college is good but those jobs still need to be done. And also that blue-collar jobs in the military aren't only for people too stupid and ambitious whatever for college. No shame in being smart and capable of getting a degree but wanting to be a garbage collector or enlist instead. That they should like being around adults and interacting with them more than kids their own age. We think that a kid who can speak with adults is more mature, but the reality of it is that it puts them way behind socially. Yup, I can talk about jobs, college and politics with people over twice my age for hours, but making small talk with another teenager that isn't a close friend for 5 minutes is absolutely out of the question. Not to be a tattletale, congrats. Now you've got a kid who hides everything from their parents and bottles up all their emotions. Not good. I don't know how many schools do this, but I know it happened to me in both primary and high school. And multiple other people I've spoken to about this who live in my state have said this as well. NSW. OS. But there's something called resilience training where they gather bullied kids and tell us that the way to prevent being bullied is to stop making ourselves a target. Telling us that we have to try harder to fit in, and how ignoring a bully will make them give up rather than crying or running away. It doesn't help. It just made me, and probably other kids too, feel like more of an outcast and put it in my head that I got bullied because I deserve it. It's less of what shouldn't they know and more of what they should know instead. That celebrities are important, that you have to have stuff to be like everyone else, that failure is bad. That the world is fair and just. He annoys you because he likes you. No, he annoys you because he thinks all attention is good attention, and making you mad gets him attention. Don't tolerate people like that. Also, we shouldn't be forcing young children, or anyone, for that matter, to show affection they don't want to give. If they don't want to hug or kiss someone, they shouldn't be forced to. Consent is a lesson that begins earlier than we think it does. Wikipedia can never be trusted. Generally the information on it is very accurate, although it is a good idea to use other sources to confirm it, although that's true for everything. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.